no podcast is complete without talking about AI. So you mentioned AI. I'm curious on like, how are you seeing AI like evolving in growth marketing, and how have you utilized the technologies in your
Yeah,
work?
yeah. Definitely AI. I remember doing my like thesis project in AI 20 years ago, and it's finally here, as we
Right.
say. But actually, joking aside, like we were using AI all along. Like anything that had like machine learning. For instance, when you go on Amazon, and again, to my experience in Google Shopping, when I led their growth and merchandising efforts there, like when you're doing people who bought this also bought that, that's actually an AI model. There's a lot of machine learning that keeps learning from the patterns, like your shopping behavior, and that predicts what you're next likely to buy, and that like everyone who's seeing those like set of recommended product recommendations is seeing those based on like a really robust machine learning model behind it. So we were using AI years before it became a thing, and in different industries, like more so than the others. Or for instance, in Google Workspace, or now like this is something that I'm also piloting with some of our startups that I'm advising, is when you land on the pricing page, for instance, the old way of doing business is you land on it, everybody sees the pricing models compared. It's like basic, middle, and then like the advanced model. But no, like if you have the right signals about me, and if you also know my lookalikes, and like what's the companies that look like me actually end up signing, which SKU they land on, then you should be able to really like get me onto that journey faster than like me again comparing, make the. So basically, we're building a lot of machine learning to guess what you're likely to buy, to put the right, if it's like a B2B SaaS product, right SKU of that product in front of you, and see how that goes. So basically, these were all like machine learning driven initiatives we were already running, but I'm super excited about the AI being here in like additional ways. First of all, like creating contents, creating like creatives, and the speed of testing or creating all these like variations of content to know like what really actually attracts your target audience's attention. Like that speed of go to market will be like shrinking, and so sorry, the time it takes will be shrinking with the tools that help us like accelerate the creative processes.
Yeah, yeah, definitely the creative process is, and I really like what you said about the pricing piece. It's like, well, first of all, it's like how good the signals are, in giving you that, and so in those experiments, do you just okay, this is the pricing model for you? Is it based on their like stage, segment size, company size, employee count,
Yeah.
or is it based on the individual sort of
Uh,
information?
yeah. So in the workspace example, yes, because there are the signals mainly, but we always had like an additional list too, because you kind of like enter your domain to get started on like setting your email addresses tied to that domain. And
Mhm.
so like all those signals are easy to pull based on like your website information or your company information, and we had some lists that we kind of like match against and so on, so it was like easier to predict. If you're looking at different types of services, you could just lean into, or maybe like some consumer services, like there could be like other references, other databases you need to like reference again, but yeah, in a B2B environment, like those are the signals you would mainly use.
Got it. Got it. And you were talking about this experiment, you run at Google Workspace, or is it a
Yeah.
start? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then we're now taking it to a startup
Mhm.
environment for
Mhm.
a few of the B2B SaaS clients.
Yeah. Is it actually having a higher conversion rate or higher ARPU?
It is taking time to set it up, to be honest. We're in that journey, and
Mhm.
we're yet to see in the startup environment. But
Mhm.
yes, in the workspace environment, it was going well. And this is actually that was an interesting time in Google Workspace, because I was on that team running their growth programs during the pandemic. And of course, all these
Yeah.
businesses are like the likes of our business was exploding with extreme growth. But then how do you don't want just like growth, like you don't want just the companies signing up. You want like smart growth in a way. So then not just like getting you started on workspace, that was kind of like the old goal. Now like getting you started on the right SKU of the workspace, not only will drive like higher lifetime value, but also bring like more services to you as a customer and so on. So we had to make sure like we funneled all that traffic growth into the right SKUs, and that was a very creative way of doing so.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also there were some like pricing changes that's again like the business had decided before my time. So like then while introducing those pricing changes, what are the right product features that based on what you're likely to use and what you have been like traditionally using as a workspace customer, and how do we actually build on those messages? Hey, you're going to get like more of these, and then like now this pricing is also happening, but we'll give you like more of that. So that was also baked into our, all that like analysis was baked into our communication strategy for all the like pricing changes too. And yeah, so with those two things, the main pricing change that had a huge impact on revenue growth, and then also the kind of like the smarter way of acquiring and funneling the users were very effective.
That's really interesting, especially I can imagine at that scale. Like, has your North Star metric then changed?
It's mainly like seat growth, but so as a and then revenue growth tied to it, and so that was the main North Star metrics around it. And of course, you have to draw like there are some retention indicators too. So in my one of my like lead roles, the final role at Google was in a team called Growth Lab. It was like a tiny team looking at growth of initiatives across the company, like all products. So for us, APPU is a key term, like average product per user. It's not ARPU. It's actually because we have on the consumer side, most of our products are free. So how many products you use per user is very strong indicator of your retention, your lifetime value. You're likely to start paying for some of the products. So we obsessed over the APPU metric, and it was not just like MAU, but also or like weekly active users. It's also like how many of those products you're using, and then using isn't just like turning it on and on off. It's actually like sometimes spent on the site or on the product using these two. So yeah, like there were some more complexity built into these like metrics. But yes, you're right. The North Star does change when you actually are at a maturation, at that saturation point where you're like, just okay, let's just get the traffic, and like, what's next? There's
Yeah.
that evolution. And I
Um,
have to say, I no longer want to call it like North Star. It's a growth star metric in my mind, because in every company, if you're a for-profit company, your North Star ultimately is revenue and like the components of revenue. But then the growth team should also sometimes like ignore the revenue side to really make sure you're moving the growth needle, like you're making the growth model work well first. So it's actually a more customized nature of that metric. So it's like a growth star metric for me.
that makes sense. So it's almost initially the KPI or success metric is how many seats that you have acquired, and then it went to okay, how many seats, how many actually, like would you say like
Products.
revenue?
Yes, how many
Oh,
features, yes, how many products each
how many?
seat
Yeah.
uses, and so
Hmm.
on. So like there's a whole like sophistication funnel. And
Yeah.
these were some of my takeaways from Google, but now we're kind of going to like more details and creating those complexities in one of the startups I'm working with too. So yeah, so now yes, you first get the traffic. So you get these like companies sign up, and then you want to expand, like land and expand. You want to get like more seats inside the company. So you're like a higher lifetime value customer. And then once you're, what are the indicators of a higher lifetime value? How many features in the product you use? So how do we make sure that we create the right entry points? So then as a growth leader, you think about how many entry points you can build from one product to the other, like from one feature to another, so that like it's a stickier experience.
The average product per user, was it across consumer and business products or just business products?
In my last role, it was more focused on consumer products.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
Mhm.
okay, okay. For so that's that's a signal for the Google Workspace product.
No, this was like the last role was across Google. So in Growth
Oh,
Lab,
okay,
yes.
sorry. Yeah.
We had all the products from Chrome to Android to Google Maps and Google Photos and all that. So how do you make sure that uh, people love Google, people use it, and they're really we're a big part of their lives, delivering
Mm,
value. So what are the indicators and how do we measure that? Was the kind of like the
yeah.
start part of the APPU concept. And looking back, like in Google Workspace, we were doing the same to as a signal for retention of our users. Like because again, Workspace is a suite of like productivity and communication tools, everything from Google Meet to Google Drive or let's say Gmail. So how many of those products you're using is a big indicator of if you're a free user, would you be able to convert to a paid version? Or if you're a paid user, are you likely to stick around for another couple of years, or are you fading away because just using one tool and one of those tools? So that was a retention signal for us.
Yeah, yeah. It's so valuable for multi-product companies, especially as more software companies are trying to do the all in one solution.
Mhm.
Actually, adoption of multiple products can be a really strong signal for retention and
Yeah,
upselling.
yeah. And so the easier way, if you're on the marketing side and if you own the email channel, is to do like cross-sell emails to kind of like talk about the other features and so on. But if you either have influence over the product organization or if you're a product manager, then how do you create the right entry points, the from one product to another, all these like smoother transition points to introduce like the next magic in your suite of products.
I would imagine probably one, the website, two, in product, almost like a reference
Mhm.
area. Like I know, Dropbox have this banner and
Yeah.
a lot of products have those almost like a lower left and lower right, sort of the banner advertising space,
Mhm.
and then emails. Would you say these are the
Yeah.
sort of land and expand?
Email is the easiest way to just check out the concept and
Mm,
see. Again, there was a point where we were promoting Workspace to a different B2B cohort of our users. And our product managers were, again, they had different parties. So we were only able to convince them, again, once like marketing started running these like email campaigns and there was some traction, we're like, okay, now it's time to build the in product transition points from one product to another. So that's actually easier level. It's at least like within Google, it was an easier level for us to pull.